Do you really think that after everything I have achieved, a whole graduate, I'll come back and marry a vulcanizer? Hey, hey, please press your account number here. Let me refund all those money that you were paying as my school fees that you think will make me get married to you. The first time I met him, I wasn't looking for love. I wasn't looking for help. That period of my life was one I don't like to remember too often, not because it was dramatic or loud, but because of how quietly everything was falling apart. Bills were piling up faster than I could keep track of, my school fees were overdue, and every call from home felt heavier than the last. It wasn't that my family didn't care, they just didn't have anything left to give. So I learned to carry my problems alone. At least that's what I thought I was doing until I met him. It happened on an afternoon I almost didn't step out. My slippers had worn thin, and one side had started peeling off. I remember dragging my feet slightly as I walked, hoping nobody would notice. The sun was harsh that day, the kind that made everything feel slower, heavier. I'd been sent to get something down the road. That was how I ended up at a shop. He was bent over a tire when I saw him, walking in a very hot sun, his body full of grease, sweat, completely focused on what he's doing. There was nothing special about the setting, just a roadside vulcanizer, standing with scattered tools and worn-out rubber pieces. He looked very steady, grounded, like someone who understood responsibility in a way I hadn't seen in a long time. I didn't even plan to talk to him, but somehow I did. He started small, a simple question, then another. He wasn't overly talkative, but he was very attentive. That was new to me. I didn't tell him everything that day, just enough. Enough for him to ask a few questions, enough for him to look at me differently. The next time I saw him, it wasn't by accident, and the time after that, somewhere between those visits, things started to shift. He started to ask me more about me, my school, my plans, what I wanted for myself, and slowly, without even realizing it, I started opening up. Not completely, but more than I usually would. The first time he offered to help me financially, I refused immediately. It didn't feel right. It felt too big, too personal. But he didn't argue. He just nodded and changed the subject. 2 days later, I went back to his shop again. I don't even remember why. Maybe I just needed to see him. That day, he didn't ask. He simply put his hand into his pocket and brought out some folded notes and handed them to me. Use am sort yourself small jare, he said casually, like it wasn't a big deal. I hesitated, of course I did, but my situation didn't give me the luxury of pride, so I took it. And that was where everything began. He didn't stop there. One helped turn into two turned into something consistent. Before I knew it, he was paying part of my school fees, sending money when things got tight, checking up on me in a way that felt very comforting, reliable. People like to think love always starts with butterflies and excitement, but sometimes it starts with relief, with gratitude, with the quiet feeling of finally not being alone. That was what it felt with him. We started spending more time together. Sometimes I would sit at his shop while he worked, watching him joke with customers or argue playfully with his friends. It felt easy, very natural. He wasn't polished, his English wasn't perfect, his lifestyle was rough around the edges. But none of that mattered to me because in my mind, I wasn't looking at what he didn't have. I was focused on what he had done for me. And that became my blind spot. There were signs, oh, very, very much obvious signs, but I brushed them aside. Like how they would sometimes disappear for hours without explanation, or how whenever I brought up anything serious about my future, he would change it up and change the topic. I noticed those things. Of course, I did. I'm not foolish. Gratitude as a way of silencing instincts. One evening, I called him. He didn't pick up. Not usual. But when I called again and again, something didn't sit right. Later that night, he finally returned the call. Network bad, Jerry, he said quickly. No apology, no concern, just an excuse. I let it go like I always did. But that small moment stayed with me, and it wasn't the only one. There were days he sounded distant, days he seemed distracted, days it felt like he was bragging because he paid my fees, because he is responsible for me. But I didn't think about all of that because I know I owe him. So I adjusted, I ignored, I excused him until the day everything became impossible to ignore. That was the day I saw her. I had not planned to go to his shop that afternoon, but something pulled me there. Maybe instincts, maybe curiosity, maybe something deeper I didn't want to admit. As I got to his shop, there was a woman beside him, and in her arms, a child. I slowed down, my steps becoming very uncertain. They looked comfortable, familiar, not like strangers, not like acquaintances, like something already established. I moved closer, my heart beating very faster now. not from running, but from something else, something heavier. He saw me, and for a brief second, he just stood there looking at me. Ah, you don't come, he said casually. I looked at the woman, then at the child, then I looked back at him. And before I could even ask, he said it, my baby mama. Just like that. No hesitation, no explanation, nothing. But deep enough, I knew that I would never remain the same again. I didn't sleep that night. It wasn't even that I tried and failed. Sleep simply refused to come. Every time I closed my eyes, the same image replayed itself with painful clarity. The woman standing beside him, the child in her arms, and the ease with which he had said it, my baby mama. Not a hint of hesitation, not even a glance at me to measure how it would land, just normal, as if I was the one out of place. I turned on my bed for what felt like the 100th time, staring at the cracked ceiling above me. My chest felt tight, like something heavy had settled there and refused to move. Maybe I was overthinking it, that's what I told myself. Maybe it wasn't what it looked like. Maybe there was an explanation he hadn't had the chance to give me. Maybe I stopped myself. Deep down, I knew I wasn't confused. I was just open to be. The next morning, I made a decision. I wasn't going back to his shop, not that day, maybe not ever again. To make it feel more real, I even blocked his number. I stared at my phone for a few seconds after doing it, my heart beating faster than it should for something so small. It felt like control, like I was finally doing something for myself. But 2 hours later, I unblocked him. I didn't even have a good reason, I just did. Because no matter how much I tried to act strong, the truth was simple. I wasn't ready to let go. Not yet. 2 days passed, 2 long, restless days filled with overthinking, silence, and the constant urge to pick up my phone and call him. On the third day, I gave in. Not because I had forgiven him, not because I was okay, but because I needed answers. When I got to his shop, I didn't go in immediately. Something made me slow down. Voices, laughter, his voice. I recognized it instantly, loud and carefree, blending easily with the others. I moved closer, my steps quieter now, until I could see them clearly. He was sitting on a low stool, one leg stretched out, gesturing animatedly as his friend laughed around him. There was no trace of seriousness on his face, no tension, no guilt, just enjoyment. Then I heard my name. I froze. That girl, one of his friends said, sounding amused. He shook his head, a small smirk forming on his lips. She no get option, she go marry me. After everything wey I don't do for her, you no even get where she dey go. The words didn't hit immediately. It was the laughter that followed that made them sink in. Why you sure like that? Another one asked. He didn't even pause to think about it. After everything where I don't do for her, make she go here. If I hear more laughter, louder this time. I felt something twist inside me. Not sharp, not sudden, slow, heavy. Like something breaking quietly. Big English girl like that, he continued. Omo, Nami go still enjoy him at the end. One of them clapped him on the shoulder. You too, Sabi, he said, and they all laughed again. I stood there, just outside their line of sight, completely still. It was strange. I'd imagined this moment so many times. Imagine finding out something painful. Imagine how I would react. I always thought I would cry or confront him, or at least feel something loud and overwhelming. But what I felt in that moment was quiet, too quiet. Even that your baby mama self, one of his friends added jokingly, you dey balance them very well. Omo, na life be that too. Man must get option. Option? The word echoed in my head, louder than all the laughter combined. So that was it. That was how he saw things. Not complicated, not emotional, just options, and I was one of them. Everything started making sense after that. The times he would disappear without explanation, the calls he wouldn't pick, the way he never really introduced me properly when we were outside, the small uncomfortable feeling I had always pushed aside. It wasn't insecurity, and I had ignored it. I took a step back, carefully, quietly. They didn't see me, and for the first time since I met him, I didn't want to. I didn't want to hear his voice calling my name. I didn't want to see his face trying to explain. I didn't want anything. I turned and walked away slowly. Each step felt heavier than the last, but I kept going because I knew if I gave myself even a second to process everything, I would break down right there in the middle of the road. That evening, my phone rang. His name flashed across the screen. For a few seconds, I just stared at it. Then I picked up. Where you dey? I no see you today. His voice was normal, like nothing had happened, like I hadn't just heard him reduce me to nothing. I was busy, I said. He clicked his tongue. You see they change these days, so I almost laughed. If only he knew. That night, I lay on my bed again, the same ceiling, the same room, but everything felt different. I didn't cry, not even once, and somehow that scared me more than if I had. Because for the first time, I wasn't thinking about how much I loved him. I was thinking about something else, something uncomfortable. How much I had been shrinking myself to fit into this life just because he paid my fees. A few days later, Ada came over. She didn't ask question immediately. She never did. She was the kind of person who observed first, spoke later, but it didn't take long. You are not okay, she said, dropping her bag. I'm fine, I replied quickly. She looked at me like she was trying to see past the words. Is it that vulcanizer boy again? I frowned immediately. Please don't call him that. Even as I said it, I felt something tighten in my chest. You see, that's your problem. Let me ask you something, she said. If he didn't pay your school fees, would you still be with him? The question hung in the air, heavy, unavoidable, and that didn't wait for me to speak. You are not in love, she said quietly. You are in debt. That one hits me differently. Not loud, not aggressive. I just can't leave him, I said. After a while, my voice softened now. After everything he has done for me. So you marry him out of pity. You wake up every day unhappy just to prove you're a good person, or you are just scared. I was scared, scared of starting over, scared of being judged, scared of being called ungrateful. More than anything, I was scared of choosing myself. And I stood up after a while. You don't own anyone your future, she said, then she left. I sat there for a very long time after she was gone. That night, I picked up my phone, scrolled through our messages, pictures, memories, conversation that once made me smile. My fingers hovered over his name, and for the first time since I met him, I didn't feel love, I didn't feel attachment, I didn't even feel anger. I just felt very tired, and deep down, I knew something had changed, something I couldn't undo. Because for the first time, I wasn't thinking about how to fix us, I was thinking about how to live.
A few days after everything that happened, I stayed away from him, not out of strength, not because I'd suddenly become bold, but because I needed space to think, space to breathe without his presence clouding my judgment. Still, avoiding him didn't bring peace. If anything, it made everything louder. By the fourth day, I was tired of thinking. I needed clarity, not assumptions, not guesses, not silent conclusion. I needed to hear him say it. I needed to look him in the eye and understand exactly where I stood in his life. So I went back. The shop looked the same as always, scattered tools, worn tires, the usual noise of the streets, but something about it felt different now. He saw me almost immediately, and just like before, there was no guilt, no hesitation. Where you disappear, go? He asked, wiping his hands on a dirty rag as he walked towards me. You just dey off like that, you just dey do on and off. I looked at him for a moment before responding, and for the first time, I wasn't saying the man who helped me. I was saying the man I had been avoiding. I needed time. Time for waiting, he replied. You dey do like say na something serious happen. Who is she? I asked. For a brief moment, he paused, not shocked, just slightly inconvenienced. I don't tell you already. Now my baby mama, no they ask me all those kind of questions. Like that single sentence should be enough to end the conversation. I heard you the first time. I'm asking, what does that mean to us? That question seems to annoy him more than anything else. Why you dey complicate simple things? He said. You too like to think too much. So I should just ignore it, pretend like it is normal. He let out a short laugh. Now because you go school past me, you dey talk like this. This thing no be new thing. Everybody get their own. That was the first time anger started to rise. Not loud, not explosive, but steady. Did you ever think to tell me? I asked. Or you just expected me to find out like that? I go tell you when the time reach. Why you dey rush everything? I almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was unbelievable. The time reached. After how long? He didn't answer immediately. I don't dey do everything for you. You no even feel calm down small. There it was. The conversation was no longer about what he did. It was about what he had done for me. And this is what he does every time. But this time something was different. I didn't ask you to lie to me. I said, my voice quieter now, but firmer. Helping me doesn't give you the right to treat me like I don't matter. That didn't sit well with him. I could see it in the way his jaw tightened slightly, in the way his posture changed. So now I'm a bad person, Abi, after everything where I don't do for you. That's not what I'm saying. Then what do you they say? He cut in quickly because it be like say you don't forget where you did before I show you. That one hits very hard, not because it was new, but because he had finally said it out loud. Everything he had done for me now had a price. I went quiet for a moment, not because I didn't have anything to say, but because I needed to make sure that when I spoke, I meant every word. I haven't forgotten, I said slowly. I remember everything. But that doesn't mean I owe you my life. For the first time since I met him, he didn't look confident. He looked caught off guard. What do you mean by that? He asked. I mean, I can appreciate what you did for me and still decide that this isn't what I want for my future. He let out a short, disbelieving laugh. You won't leave me. Hey, so you feel leave me? I'm trying to understand where I stand, I replied. You stand where you dey, nothing change. Everything changed, I said. So now because of that small thing you dey do like this, you think say you go see better pass me. There it was again, that arrogance, that certainty. And suddenly I remember this voice from that day. She no get option. This isn't about finding someone better, I said. It's about not settling for something that isn't right. You two dey form. At the end of the day, na me still dey here for you. I didn't respond immediately. I just looked at him, really looked at him. But the man who believed I would never leave. I won't do this. Do waiting. This, I repeated, this situation, this confusion, this disrespect. Respect. So I know they respect you again. I didn't argue. I didn't explain because I realized something in that moment. If I had to convince him to respect me, then it was already gone. I'm done. I said. He just stared at me, waiting for me to take it back. But I didn't. For the first time since I met him, I didn't bend. You serious? He asked. I nodded. The confidence on his face cracked. After everything, he said again. But this time, it didn't sound like a weapon. It sounded like disbelief. After everything, I repeated. Then I turned and walked away. I didn't slow down. I didn't look back. I kept walking because I knew one thing for sure. If I stopped, I might not have the strength to start again.
Yes, so my people, if you want to know what later happened between Bola and her estranged boyfriend, you know what to do. I don't want to give you people all the gist. Please like, comment, subscribe, and tell me what you are rooting for. Do you think she should go back to him? Do you think after he apologized, Bola should find a way back to him? Tell me what exactly you are thinking in the comment section because the next part is going to be based on what you all think. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate you. Please like, subscribe, and drop a comment in the section.